So let's talk about a single day, January 3rd, 2026. A few things happened around the world that, at first glance, seem to have absolutely nothing to do with each other. But when you start to connect the dots, wow, you get this startling picture of a world that's shifting right under our feet. The old rules are breaking, new power plays are emerging. It's a world in flux. So let's jump right in.
Okay, first up, something absolutely wild out of Latin America. We're talking about the sitting president of a sovereign nation being arrested by a foreign military. Just let that sink in for a second.
Then you hop over to the Middle East. A proxy war that's been simmering for years suddenly just boils over. And we're not talking about proxies anymore. We're talking about two major powers, former allies, mind you, who are now shooting at each other directly.
And if that wasn't enough, we've got this head-scratcher out of South Asia. A message comes out of Pakistan about its biggest rival, India. But instead of the usual hostility, it's praise. Yeah, you heard that right. So what on earth is going on? Let's break down each of these hotspots one by one.
All right, our first stop is Caracas, Venezuela. Imagine waking up to the sound of massive explosions shaking the entire capital. Total confusion, total fear. Well, it didn't take long to figure out what was happening. This wasn't a local issue. It was a full-blown military operation, and the United States was leading it.
So the White House comes out pretty quickly and says, yep, that was us. Their special forces arrested President Nicolás Maduro. But listen to the language they're using. It's super deliberate. They're calling it a special military operation. They insist this is not an invasion. The official story is that this is all about bringing Maduro to justice on charges of drug trafficking and supporting terrorism. It's a law enforcement action, they say, not a play for regime change.
Of course, that's just one side of the coin. Back in Venezuela and among its allies, the story is completely different. Maduro's supporters are calling it exactly what you'd expect, a blatant military invasion, a direct attack on their sovereignty. Russia and Iran, they're already condemning it. You can literally see the world picking sides in real time.
So that's the big question, isn't it? Is this really just a targeted hit on a single person like the US wants us to believe? Or are we watching the first spark of a much, much bigger fire in Latin America?
Okay, let's shift gears now and head to the Middle East, where a messy situation has just gotten a whole lot messier. We've all been following the civil war in Yemen for years, right? Well, something just changed, and it's a big one. The two main foreign powers who are supposedly on the same side, well, they're not allies anymore.
That's right, I'm talking about Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. They were partners in this whole thing, and now they are in a direct shooting match. We're getting confirmed reports that Saudi forces are attacking UAE-backed groups in southern Yemen. The gloves are officially off.
So you have to ask, why now? Why are they turning on each other? Well, it boils down to this. They want completely different things. Saudi Arabia wants one unified Yemen, with a central government in the capital that they can, work with. The UAE, they have a totally different plan. They're backing separatists who want to control the south, which is super strategic. You can't have both. Those two goals just can't coexist. And let's be clear, this has stopped being just about Yemen. This is now a fight for who's the top dog in the Gulf. And that raises a huge question for all of us. What happens to the price of oil, to the stability of the entire region, when two of its biggest players decide to go to war with each other?
All right, from open warfare, let's turn to something different. A development in South Asia that might be even more shocking in its own way. We're talking about India and Pakistan. A relationship that has been tense, to say the least, for decades. But a message just came out of Pakistan and it's not what you'd think.
Check out this quote. It's from an open letter, written inside Pakistan, and it's actually praising India for a recent anti-terrorism operation they ran. I mean, to hear a voice from Pakistan say that an Indian military operation was necessary, that's practically unheard of.
But it gets even deeper. The letter doesn't stop at praising India. It goes on to criticize Pakistan's own alliance with China, saying it's actually causing problems inside Pakistan. It's this incredible hint that maybe, just maybe, some people are starting to look around and ask, who are our real friends here and who's causing the trouble?
So, what do we make of this? Is this just one isolated voice, a small group with a radical idea? Or could this be the first tremor before a massive earthquake in South Asian politics? It's really hard to say.
Okay, for our last snapshot, let's look at another major relationship that's feeling the strain, the old friendship between India and Russia. But this time, the pressure isn't coming from guns and soldiers. It's coming from money. We're talking about billions of dollars. That's how much money Indian companies have earned selling things to Russia, and it's all stuck. It's sitting in Russian banks, in rubles, and thanks to sanctions and all sorts of currency issues, they literally can't get their money out. Imagine having a giant pile of cash that you can't spend or bring home. That's the problem.
So India's trying to find a solution. They've officially asked Russia, hey, how about you make it easier for us to buy your stuff? Lower the barriers on our electronics, our medicine, our food products. The thinking is, if Indian companies can't get their cash out, maybe they can at least use it to buy Russian goods and balance the books. But so far, Moscow isn't really playing ball.
And this friction over money is putting real stress on a relationship that, for both countries, is incredibly important strategically. So the question is, can they figure this out? Or is this trade problem going to be the thing that starts to crack a partnership that's already under a ton of pressure from the rest of the world?
Okay, so let's pull back and look at the big picture. We've got a president arrested in Venezuela, former allies shooting at each other in Yemen, a shocking letter from Pakistan, and a major trade fight between India and Russia. On the surface, they're all totally separate stories, but they're not. They're all signs of the same, much bigger thing happening all over the world.
What we're witnessing really is a world where the old rulebook is being thrown out. Established alliances, they're fracturing. Just look at Saudi Arabia and the UAE. Big regional players like the US and India, they're not waiting for permission anymore. They're aggressively doing what they think is best for them. And money? Well, trade isn't just trade anymore. It's a weapon. It's a tool. It's a source of major conflict. The main takeaway here is that the world we thought we knew, that kind of predictable order we've had for decades, it's fading away. And what's replacing it is a whole lot more chaotic and unpredictable.
And that leaves us with one final and pretty massive question. As all these old certainties crumble, what comes next? What's going to define the next chapter of global power? What new alliances, new rules, or new conflicts are going to shape the world we're all about to live in?